Hello guys, welcome back. I've had a lot of stuff going on lately. Okay, the microphone's going. And it was weird because today Dionysus was the one that came in and was helping me, and he pointed out a lot of stuff. He says, you can't be happy with the gods, it seems, unless you feel they're being as restrictive as how when you grew up. He says, the only one placing these restrictions on you at this point is you. If you would just let go of the restrictions, you wouldn't be seeing it popping up. The gods are just basically going to try to make us happy, and if we think we have to be held in place and scruffed to feel loved and secure because that's what we grew up with, they might not like it, but they'll do it. Because he says, well, we're not going to restrict ourselves to just one group of people. Greek gods aren't just, sitting in Greece with a few select people. They're all over the world. So are the Norse gods, and so are all the other gods. He goes, what makes you think we'd then say, no, you must stay with this tiny little teeny tiny group? He says, you go everywhere. Who the hell's your patron god in, like Greece? And I'm like, well, there are a few of you. There's like you, and there's Apollo, and there's Hermes. He goes, do any of us stay in one place? I'm like, not really. So, it's one of those things I have to work on. And he's like, you're just afraid, and he's using Gay Pride Month for the obvious reason. He says, you're afraid to accept yourself as you really are. He says, you had a struggle with being gay. And now you're struggling with, you feel it's kind of akin, and it is. It's like, for me, it's the same exact struggle loving all the gods I do as it was figuring out I was pansexual. Story time from the old gay person. And I hear all the straight people getting extremely quiet and uncomfortable and shifting in their chairs and looking at the ground. When I was growing up in the late 70s, I was too tiny back then, but in the 80s, remember I grew up in this rural community. I did not have the interwebs like you young people have today. You know from a very young age, at least I knew. And to me, it was natural, and I hadn't seen all the homophobia yet, so I didn't know that there was supposed to be anything wrong with me. There isn't, but I didn't know there was anything wrong with me because I hadn't reached the age yet where they start screeching about it in the church and such forth and such not. Well, as I was growing up, the only gay people you saw were on TV, and they were TV characters, and you would see gays, and they weren't treated too well, and you would see lesbians. You would see gay men, you would see lesbians. You very rarely saw anything else, and they were usually portrayed as a deviant. They were the person that was like seducing other people, they were deviant and nasty, and if they were bisexual, they were super nasty. It was not a very flattering or great time to be gay. Either the gays were really out and confrontational and the characters were done pretty poorly because they were probably written by straight people, or it was painful to watch. It was that parody of gay people that I can understand if you're straight and that's all you ever saw were gay people portrayed in the 1980s, the way you think we are, the way you think we are. So and as time went on, more stuff started to come out. And more actual gay people started to be out and open, especially with, when people had access to the internet. But at one time that wasn't done. And I had no idea what I was. I knew I wasn't a gay man, obviously, and I wasn't a lesbian, though I knew I had character traits of both. I thought, well, I must be bisexual because that was the only 3 flavors of gay in the world, according to TV. So it was really a hard journey to realize what I was. And I still think the gay community needs like a century more of getting itself together, because it doesn't help to give people a list and say, these are all the labels we've come up with, and you have to fit in one of these categories. You might not fit in any of the categories, and there's like 80 now. You might not fit in any of them, and I don't think it should be a big deal of, you have to figure out what your labels are, and you have to wear these labels, and you have to wave them in people's face. Not every gay person's like that, but some people are. It makes the rest of us very uncomfortable. You guys know I have one friend that vaguely knows and ignores it. And I have met people in town I thought were gay, but they still burn crosses in this area, so you don't always. Some people are out and open. It's usually younger people or people that just don't give a shit. I just act how I normally do. Most people mistake me for a lesbian. I'm like, yeah, fuck it, close enough. I like girls. So, um, it's one of those things, and becoming comfortable with what I am and who I am was, it was a really long process. Like, it was a really long process with coming to terms of, just naturally, I love all the gods. I don't care where they come from or what their religion's about. I'm really not interested in the religion other than to the point to make them vaguely happy with proper offerings and stuff. And they really don't seem to give a hot damn about proper offerings. Only we humans worry about that. I'm getting uh-huh. And, look who I serve. I serve Loki, and Loki can't stay still for 5 damn minutes unless he's in a coma. And and so it makes sense that I would roam, but unfortunately, as I've been doing, all this research the last couple years, in a lot of ways, and this is going to piss a lot of pagans off, and I'm going to lose a lot of subscribers, watching pagans struggle with which gods they're going to worship and what gods it's okay to love is like watching gay people struggle with being gay, because there's all that guilt and shame because what will other people think of me if they know the real me? And what will people think of me if they know who I love? It's like the same exact goddamn thing. And when you're gay, you get used to like the stereotypes intolerant people put on you. You don't like them, but you get used to it. And when you're a pagan that loves many gods, for example, you get used to the stereotypes people put on you and you don't like them. Like, they think we're flighty, they think we don't know what that we want, they think we're not a real pagan if we won't just pick one path and stick with it. They think we're not spiritually dedicated, and we're the ones running around 24/7 talking to the gods, going crazy and going out of our mind because we can't just settle down in one place. What's wrong with us? That would be like asking why I'm not straight and Mormon. It's never going to happen. I'm never going to be straight, and I'll be damned if I'll ever be Mormon. But, there's nothing wrong with people who are straight and Mormon, but, I just picked an example out of the air. That's not me. That's never going to be me. So, we've just been working on, it's a lot for me. It's like the same struggle to accept that you're gay or you're whatever you feel you are. And it's learning to walk the line between accepting yourself and loving yourself as you are, and accepting that the gods love and accept you as you are, and realizing that you're going to lose a lot of people in your life. If my friend, even though yesterday I called her, for example, and she was feeling kind of sick, I've been like feeling all achy and everything lately, and I didn't know why. And I went for a walk and I saw her, and there was this car in her driveway, okay? And I wondered if something was wrong, but I had the feeling I shouldn't interfere, so I walked home. And I'm sitting at home, and I'm kind of upset, because sometimes I do go up when I need someone to talk to, because what the hell do you have friends for if you don't have them to talk to, right? And I had been listening to music, and she had called me and apologized for not seeing me. I said, well, I didn't want to interfere, and I found out she's, like, sick, and she's run down from going for these tests, so I called her back, and I said, have your door open, I'll bring you something. The last of my mint ice cream, guys, and I love this stuff. It's the ice cream from the Dairy Queen, but it had mint sauce on it, and they don't have that anymore, apparently. And it wasn't, like, ages old. It was still perfectly acceptable to give to her, and I said, just have your door open. So I walked that up to her, and as I'm giving it to her, giving it to the gentleman, he gave me cake, so it was a thing yesterday. I was like talking to Frere. I was like, if you're really here, I could use a sign. So it was definitely like a Frere thing. But the gods are just having me work on a lot of stuff. They're like, they really don't care who gets credit for what. It's not like if Loki does something and I credit Dionysus with it, Loki's going to be in a snit. And if Loki is in a snit, he's not shy about showing me. Loki's not going to hide who he is from you. He's also not going to tell you about somebody asked me if he has a master plan. He's never going to tell you or me or anyone else. None of the gods would. If they had some kind of master plan, some kind of goal they were working to, they're not going to tell some blabby mouth human, because then all the other gods will know. They're not going to tell you. They're just going to wait and do their own thing. But I've never experienced any god that had any kind of master plan to do stuff. I think we're used to the big three religions, and that God apparently has this master plan and wants to do all this stuff, and the end of the world's coming, and I've never experienced that, thankfully. So it's been a thing of the gods are like, you're having a lot of these health issues because you're trying to hold everything in, and you're trying to, reinvent the wheel, when if you would just relax and be you, you would be fine. You're still going to have times when you're going to get twitchy, and feel like you should be doing it the way everyone else is doing it, because when you read a lot of these articles, a lot of people have a sense of shame of where they came from. Like, oh, I first had this god, but now I have this god, and I'm so ashamed I didn't have this god all this time. Please be nicer to yourself. It's a process. We've all worked with many gods, most of us. And if you haven't, well, then you haven't. But that doesn't make you any more normal or right than people that have worked with 80 gods, or people that have worked with no gods, or whatever. Everybody has a different kind of normal, because normal really doesn't exist. For me, it's natural to work with all the gods, and it's natural just to spend 5 minutes with this god, and then we both feel like we're good and we've had all the time in the world we need, and then to pop off to that god, or to spend all day wrapped up in research, or building temples, or being on VR, or working for YouTube, and not doing anything else. So it's just one of those things. So obviously Dionysus and company are going to use Gay Pride Month to have me work through a lot of issues. I've gotten the idea that the gods have been tired of watching me make myself miserable. And it hasn't been anyone but me trying to force me to fit into, say, the Norse pantheon household, or the whatever pantheon household. I just want to be free to roam where I roam, and if that doesn't give me much of an afterlife or something, oh well. I'll end up somewhere. Logic tells you I will end up somewhere. And then if I naturally do end up with just one group of gods, then I naturally do, but it can't be something I force on myself because I worry about view counts, or worry about what other people think, or anything else. So if you guys like what you see, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye bye.